All right, man, peace. So the great Shaquille O'Neal is one of the great enigmas in the last 25 years in regards to the NBA. Because even though he scored almost 30,000 points and won 4 championships, I think that the consensus perception in regards to Shaquille is that he left a lot on the table. He easily could have scored 40,000 points and won 6 or 7 championships had he devoted himself more to his physical conditioning. All that being said, he's still in my top 10 greatest players of all time because at one point in time, in the late 90s into the early 2000s, he was most likely the most dominant player that I've ever seen play. Certainly not the greatest, but the most physically dominant and domineering. He would throw great players around. He used to ragdoll David Robinson and Tim Duncan and make them look like nothing for a couple of years. And to me, it's just unfortunate that Shaquille was not as focused on his physical conditioning as he probably should have been, because I think that he would have broken every record in the book. Now, in the aftermath of his retirement, I find that he often gets overlooked. Sometimes it's because of his style of play and his ginormous size. It makes it very easy for people to try to minimize what he brought to the table. He was extremely skilled, even though his dimensions made him awkward. He was over 7 feet tall with a size 22 shoe. It's amazing how nimble he was with feet that big. And once again, he does make my top 10 because, as I've already stated in my parameters, for a player to be in my top 10 greatest of all time, you have to be able to argue that he was the greatest player ever at his position. And I think that you can make an argument that Shaq was the greatest center ever. It's not as extensive an argument as other players in my top 10, but you can make an argument for it because at one time he was certainly the most dominant player in the NBA, and he certainly has a very strong argument, a very cogent argument that he was the most dominant player in NBA history. So anyway, he's going to talk about his greatest moments and also his lowest moments in the NBA, and I'm going to chime in.
Shaq, you're up next. What happened on your birthday? In 2000?
2000. Ernie, because of this gentleman over here, D. Scott, I was a party throwing fool.
So it's all his fault.
Yeah, it was all his fault. So on this day, I broke all my rituals. My ritual consisted of after shoot around, go home, eat 2 turkey club sandwiches with extra mayo and a Diet Coke. Take about a 3 to 4 hour.
That was the appetizer.
3 to 4 hours. No, seriously.
He's not lying. He's not lying. He's looking at Charles.
Diet Coke, take a nap, go play, go dominate. And you know, the Clippers, we always manhandled and beat them, so.
You know what the most amazing thing about Shaquille was? Is that when he got around 30 years old, of course, he started to have weight problems. But for those of you brothers who remember, when he first came into the NBA in 1992, all they would talk about was how low his body fat was. And I think that people who only got to see Shaq play in the championship years with the Lakers and thereafter, they don't fully have a grasp of the type of physical phenomenon that Shaq was when he first entered the NBA, tearing down rims and breaking backboards. And once again, one of the main storylines in regards to Shaq was the fact that he had such a low body fat percentage at his size. That's what the commentators would constantly talk about. That was until, of course, he started to fill out. And oftentimes, many of Kobe Bryant's more ardent fans, they love to state that Kobe was the better or more important player in the LA Lakers three-peat. And they'll allege that Shaq never won a championship until he played with Kobe. Well, the fact of the matter is that Shaq never won a championship until he played with Phil Jackson. That was the main factor in Shaquille O'Neal finally getting over the hump, because the fact of the matter is, if we want to go there, that it took him longer to get to the finals on the Lakers than it did for him to get to the finals on the Orlando Magic or with the Miami Heat. So Kobe Bryant was not the X factor in Shaq winning a championship. It was Phil Jackson. He was the one who taught those guys how to win. He helped instruct Shaq on how to lead. Shaq was able to reach the finals on the Orlando Magic in his 3rd year. He was able to reach the finals on the Miami Heat in his 2nd year. It took him 4 years to get to the finals on the LA Lakers. So clearly, one can make the case, one can make the argument that Kobe Bryant in his first 4 years was not as good a sidekick to Shaquille O'Neal as Penny Hardaway or Dwayne Wade were. But that's an argument for another day. Once again, when I make my statements, I make them according to facts, substance, and empirical data. This is not a fanboy channel.
That day I said, you know what, since I got a party tonight, I'm gonna let Rick Fox and Kobe and those guys take over. I ain't gonna do nothing. So the whole day I'm setting up the party. I'm calling, hey, make sure the drinks is there. because also what I was doing that game is I was gonna foul shave. You know what foul shave is?
No, what's that?
Foul shave is when you get in the game, you get 2 quick fouls so you can sit up. So I was on foul shave. I wasn't gonna even play this game. I was gonna get 3, 4 quick fouls. I wasn't gonna do nothing. I was gonna be in second.
What a great game plan
With the Turkey Savages.
I get to the game and I'm dead tired. I'm not gonna do nothing. So
Wait, hold on. The party's the night before, the night after?
No,
after the game.
After the game.
So why are you tired?
Because he spent the whole day prepping for the party, fool.
Because I didn't take a nap. And I'm out all day. I'm out, calling people, going to the mall, getting the jewelry. I got to get the ice ready. I got to get the derbies. I'm getting the suits made. I got to get the car washed. I got to get the rim.
Isaiah know all about that. He from Chicago. He know about them Chicago players. As a matter of fact, in the feature that NBA TV did with Isaiah Thomas and Magic Johnson, they showed a photo with Isaiah Thomas wearing an all-pink suit.
The rim. So I get home about 4. I don't even get to take a nap. I get back on the highway because I live an hour away from Staples at 5. So I get to the game and I'm like this. So the game start and the Clippers are killing us, right? Clippers are killing us, and then Phil, he starts yelling at me. And all the guys start looking at me, so I'm like, all right, give me the ball. So I'm starting to go to work and I'm getting the ball and I'm looking, I'm like, oh, you got Pete Chilcutt on me? You're not going double? Barbecue chicken alert. Chicken alert early in guard. So they had Pete Chilcutt sticking me. They had Anthony Avon sticking me. Then they tried the Hack and Shack thing, and I had to get my elbow in like my name was Dennis Scott. So as players, like you get 30, right, and you're like,
good pass, Kobe.
And you're like, man, I can get 40. So I got 40, right? I was like, man, I can get 50. So now I got 50 guys are like, go get 60, go get 60. Only thing that upset me about the game is I think we had 5 minutes left. I think I could have went for 70 or possibly 80 for the game. Phil took me out. So.
Well, finish the story, Shaq. Say what you always say. You think that Phil Jackson took you out because he did not want you to pass by Michael Jordan's record. That is what Shaq has always stated in regards to his belief as to why Phil Jackson took him out with 5 minutes left when he had 61 points. Shaq claims that Phil Jackson did not want him to pass by Michael Jordan's scoring mark, which makes no sense because Michael Jordan has 69 points against the Cavaliers in an overtime game, and I'm pretty sure that Phil Jackson did not have the foggiest idea how many points Michael Jordan had scored. As a matter of fact, the player who had scored the most points in any game in the 90s was David Robinson, who had 71 points against the Clippers. It wasn't Michael, so.
But it was a great day.
So 61 and 23.
Yeah, 61-23.
Oof. And he was tired.
Yeah.
How many fouls in that game?
I think I had 3.
Early?
Something else.
What?
Something else that I almost forgot to mention that kind of ticked me off. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar I guess he was a special assistant coach. So I got the ball one time and
once again, it's a shame to me that the NBA could be talking about making Becky Hammon a head coach in the NBA for a real NBA franchise, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has to resort to participating in Dancing with the Stars just to keep his name out there because he cannot get a job as an NBA coach, not even a head coach, just an assistant coach.
Time and I, shot like a little sky hook, just to pay homage to him, and he did me like this, Ernie. He put his head down. So now I'm super pissed. Phil's calling other players. I'm like, we're not running that right now. Get it to me every time. He's like, why is it not? Get it to me every time. I'm going to make Kareem look at me. And Kareem never looked at me.
No, look.
I'm telling you.
Okay, hold on. Because once
Shaq clearly had a very refined low post game. He does not get much credit for it, but he had a great drop step.
Because once upon a time, there was the big story about David Robinson who didn't sign your autograph, and you said, we made that up.
I made that up.
Now, is this made up with Kareem?
No, it's not made up. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did not look at him. I think he was talking to Keith Close. I'm just saying, he was like, he was, it seemed to me like he was talking to the guys and like, oh, don't let him do this. You got to play him like this. So I'm like, oh, okay, you going to teach him how to stop me. Watch this. So like every time I did a move, I'd look at him and he'd just go. He just put his head. He never looked at me.
That would have been a great battle to see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar against Shaquille O'Neal. Would have been finesse against power.
And then It was a hell of a party, Ernie.
Where
All the superstars.
was it?
The party was at. It was at an aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice. And I pulled up in that white convertible Rolls Royce on them.
What was the music playing? What music playing?
Bow down. Bow down. What you call it?
Go back to 2000.
My loud, Professor.
Oh, yeah. It was me and Uncle Jerome.
Jerome in the
I was like, oh, great. Yeah, I know.
Shaq is such a fool, man.
Okay, how do you get from that to the low point? What was the low point?
The low point is I wish that it was better communication between me and the young fella. Because people.
Well, let's be for real for a moment, Shaq. You and Kobe were never going to get along at that stage in both of your respective careers. Kobe was like a meteor shooting upward. He was trying to maximize what he thought he could do in the NBA. He wanted to win scoring titles like his idol Michael Jordan did, and you were getting in the way. He did not want to be seen as just your sidekick. And on your end, you wanted to make sure that you cemented your legacy as the greatest big man in NBA history, and you did not like this young whippersnapper not showing the proper level of obeisance to you, the proper level of subservience to you. So you guys were never going to work. All it was going to come down to was who was the older player, because that was going to be the one who was going to lose that battle. It was you. There's this silly narrative that I think gets perpetuated by the mainstream liberal sports media that the LA Lakers of the early 2000s left some championships on the table. I completely disagree. I think that they maximized their winning potential. It wasn't like they won the championship in 2002 and then traded Shaq. They actually tried to win championships in 03 and 04. They lost both times. The situation in the locker room became untenable. The chemistry, or lack thereof, just totally tore the team apart. And then you had that issue with Kobe and Karl Malone, in which Karl Malone tried to hit on Kobe's wife. There was no way in the world that team was ever going to win any more championships. So they traded Shaq at the right time. What Shaq is truly upset about is that he thought he was the top dog on the Lakers, and Jerry Buss showed him otherwise.
People always make the point that if we would have stayed together, we probably could have won 6 or 7. And I look.
No, you topped out at 3. I think that you guys reached your maximum potential there. I think that if you would have kept your body in better shape, you could have won more championships with Dwayne Wade.
And I look at what LeBron has done in the last 7 years, and I always say to myself, I think if we could have worked it out and stayed together, we probably could have, won 6, 7, maybe 8. So we win 3 in a row, then I think we lose, and then we have to, regroup. So now I see a couple Asian veterans that didn't quite win. I go get GP. I go get Karl Malone. So now we have like a super team, and they're there to make sure me and the young fellas playing. So we don't have a great season, but somehow we make it to the finals. Karl gets hurt. I'm having a great finals. I think I'm averaging 36-20 against Detroit.
I remember very vividly when the LA Lakers first put that quote-unquote super team together in the 2003-2004 NBA season. There were talks by many members of the mainstream liberal sports media that they may have a viable chance, a real opportunity to surpass the Chicago Bulls' 72-win season. As that season played along, one could see very quickly that the Lakers had little to no chemistry. Gary Payton and Karl Malone were struggling with the triangle offense, because what the triangle offense does is it just makes you a component. And unless you're a Shaquille O'Neal or Kobe Bryant, you basically have to wait for your chance to shoot the basketball. You have to get yours off the glass, basically. And the triangle offense is not good for point guards. So a guard like a Gary Payton, who's used to averaging 19 or 20 a game, 8 or 9 assists a game, he does not have the opportunity to distribute the ball as he did in previous offensive systems. He basically has to sit on the outside and wait for Shaq or Kobe to kick the basketball out to him. So that truly started to minimize the impact that a Gary Payton could bring to that team, and he really was not very effective. So I was not surprised when the Lakers got to the finals and got smoked by the Detroit Pistons. Well, I shouldn't say I wasn't surprised. I was surprised. But after Game 2, I knew that the Pistons had too much chemistry for the Lakers.
Right, but they had our number.
And Chauncey Billups is one of the more underrated leaders in NBA history. He was a phenomenal leader, and both he and Rip Hamilton thoroughly outplayed Kobe Bryant in that series. Let me rewind this back just a little bit.
Great season. Let's see how we make it to the finals. Call gets hurt. I'm having a great finals. I think I'm averaging 36-20 against Detroit, but they had our number. And then after that, after we lose, I figured, hey, we're going to work it out and, we're going to get it cracking again. Me and him have a conversation and, Magic's, starting to chatter about getting involved. So I figured we all have a conversation and work it out. I'm at the crib with Sharif.
No, what you really thought was that you were not expendable. And brother, at that time period, you were what, 34, 35 years old? I believe that would have been Shaq's 12th season. So he would have been about 32 or 33 years old. And you were starting to break down. They said to themselves, Kobe Bryant has basically let us know that it's going to be him or Shaq. So they chose to move you. That's all it boiled down to, bro. And you thought that you were not expendable when you were.
Sharif, we eating Frosted Flakes, watching cartoons, and I see Mitch Kupchak on the screen and says, "Hey, we're taking all phone calls on Shaquille O'Neal," and I knew at that point it was, that they wanted to go into a different direction. But that for me was probably the low point, because I really wanted to end my career with the Lakers, because I thought at that point when I got traded, I thought that would jeopardize me going upstairs with the rest of the boys. I mean, I thought that would jeopardize maybe me having a statue there one day. So I was very upset and very saddened by that day when I got traded.
And you're still mad to this day at Kobe Bryant, but you know that you have to move past it or you'll look like a bitter old man. I've stated this in videos in the past. Shaquille O'Neal was smart enough to understand that when he did get traded to the Miami Heat, that he had to allow Dwayne Wade to be the lead guy. He had to coach and coax Dwayne Wade into understanding that he had to be the main guy on offense and that he would play a supplementary role, because he knew essentially that if he and Dwayne Wade had developed an acrimonious relationship or a rapport that was filled with enmity, like the rapport that he had with Kobe Bryant on the Lakers or the rapport that he had with Penny Hardaway on the Orlando Magic, all fingers will be pointed at him. There's nowhere in the world that you go to 3 separate locations and you have a beef with 3 separate top-level guards and it's not you. You could say 2 times is a coincidence. Now 3 times, what is it going to be? It's going to be a trend.
Jack, did anything happen between you two that that was a breaking point, or just kind of?
No, it wasn't really a breaking point. I just think sort of what.
The breaking point was that Kobe did not like that you came into camp every season out of shape. That's what the true breaking point was. Beyond that, he did not want to be recognized as your sidekick. He had to have at least one season where he had an unmitigated green light to take whatever shot he wanted. He got that for 2 years. He realized that was not truly what he wanted because he got it out of his system. Once he got it out of his system, he was ready to go back to winning again.
What Danny Ainge is going through with Isaiah. I was getting older. I was just coming off of toe surgery. I had bad hips. I had bad ankles, bad knees. They didn't want to pay an Asian superstar. And the good thing about dealing with Jerry Buss is he was honest. He said, "Hey, man, we owe you 30. You were 30, but we don't want to pay you 30 when you're 33 and 34. And I respected that about him. So, I understood the business, and I understand it was time to do something. And then I know that.
Look at Shaq's face. He still has a bitter look on his face in regards to how things ended with the Lakers, because you could tell he loved playing with that franchise. Let me rewind it back a little bit.
I know that we owe you 30. You were 30, but we don't want to pay you 30 when you're 33 and 34. And I respected that about him. So, I understood the business, and I understand it was time to do something. And then I know that the young fella didn't want to be under me anymore.
That is the most pertinent component of what Shaq is trying to illustrate in what he's saying right now, which is that Kobe Bryant did not want to be up under him for his whole career. He was heading into his mid-20s, and he knew that it's now or never. Kobe came into the NBA in 1996. He was 17 years old. He played for 8 years with Shaq. He was 24, 25 years old. He said to himself, I need a couple of seasons where I could just jack up shots and nobody could say anything. I need that to get out of my system. I have to win a couple of scoring titles so I could feel like what it was like to be Michael Jordan. And then after that, we can bring in some other guys and we can go back to winning. That's all it was ever about. That is why Kobe drove Shaq off the team. That's why he drove the rest of his teammates off the team, because he needed to have that feeling. He was almost like one of these chicks that got into an arranged marriage when she was 16 years old and she ran away from her husband, wanted to run to every club and bar and be a freak for a year or so, and then marry a man after that. That's how Kobe was. And fortunately for him, it paid off. But once again, when you look at Shaq, you can see that he's still a bit bitter at how things ended in LA.
Where he wanted to spread his wings and, you know, become the great Kobe Bryant. And that's probably why he's getting both his jerseys today. That's amazing, man.
Yeah, both jerseys.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Still to come here.
Well, it's really not that amazing, seeing as he spent approximately half his career wearing both jerseys, and he deserved to get both jerseys retired. But anyway, that's it on the video regarding Mr. Shaquille O'Neal and what his highest and lowest moments were in his career. Peace.